Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Read and Write with Natasha. I have with me today author Jim Flaherty, who's an optimistic octogenarian. I had to Google this, by the way. And an octogenarian who's a person who's between 80 and 89 years old. He has a bright future. He has written 4 books in his 80s. He lives now in a converted 1940s dairy barn in the foothills of the Berkshires, 80 miles north of Manhattan. He's 89 and has the answers for you. All right, Jim, what a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast. Wow, I'm so excited to talk to you and learn from your wisdom. Wow, 89. You're a legend. So,
A legend in my own time. Actually, I have a
and
T-shirt that says "A legend in my own mind."
wow, great. I see copies of your books behind you. I
Yeah.
love that. So, okay. So, Jim, you're 89, you wrote 4 books and you started writing in your 80s. That's correct,
Well, I
right?
wrote the two bottom books here, which are both fiction novels. I wrote
Okay.
those in my late 70s. I wrote
Okay.
the top two books in my 80s. They're about aging cheerfully and productively because as I hit 80, I saw so many people that I knew had been sticks of dynamite in their 40s, 50s, and 60s suddenly retreating from life. And I said, "What are you
Mm,
doing? Get
yeah.
up, get up, start living again. Don't tell me." They said, "No, I'm old now. Nobody wants me." I said, "What absolute BS. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. I want you to get up and live." You're, there's an old saying, which is very true. You are as old as you think. And
Mm-hmm.
if you think old, you get old,
That is
and,
true.
and I say to people, the band won't stop playing till you stop dancing. So what shall we dance? Let's do something.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice. So, what made you decide to start writing at an advanced age? I mean, what
Well,
was the trigger for
okay,
you?
I'll make it short. My history, I've always been a writer. I came to New York out of college. My first job,
Okay.
I took home $200 a month after taxes,
Oh,
with no
that's
allowance
a
from
fort.
home.
That's a
Mind you,
fortune.
it was 1957. It wasn't quite as pricey as right now, but I was
Okay.
living really under the poverty line, but it was fine. I was so excited about being in New York because I grew up in Coral Gables, Florida, before air conditioning. Anyway,
Uh,
I was so happy to be in New York that I went to work an hour early and I
uh,
became a copywriter. And I thought, this is really nifty. I had a degree in communications, but I didn't know what the hell it was for.
okay.
And I thought, I really love this, sitting and writing about things. And shortly after that, the next year, I was in the Army earning $80 a month and I got married. We did things back then in the 50s. You had to do that.
Okay.
You got out of college, you got a job, you never went back to live with your parents. You had to be self supporting. You would meet the girl or boy of your dreams, get married, and have children. Boom. It was engraved in titanium on your skull. So I
Okay.
got married. We were having babies. We had zero money. We lived in Denver. We lived in Syracuse. We lived in way out in Brooklyn. But suddenly at age 33, because I worked hard and because I loved doing what I was doing as a writer, I found myself in a corner office in New York as a
Mm,
writer, creative director. I became a madman. If you saw the TV series, that
yeah.
that was basically the story of my life. Except I used to say the only difference is that no one ever got laid or drunk in my office because I didn't allow it. So,
So you were the Don Draper of your time?
yes, I was absolutely. It was very right on in terms of what my life was back
As
then.
handsome as Don Draper?
No, I was never that sexy or handsome. I didn't think I was 6'3" and a half, and
Okay.
I dressed very well.
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
Hey, it's okay. I stayed mainly in New York. I did 4 years in Argentina as the
Ah, nice.
creative director of J. Walter Thompson in Buenos Aires. That was interesting. And then back to New York. And then when in my mid 40s, I jumped off the mountain and started a business I knew nothing about. I created a country inn conference center and ran it, and it became nationally famous. I worked
Oh,
70 hours a week doing it. And I can say right now, for all of you entrepreneurs out there, I don't know how you can run a business if you don't know how to write. It required an immense amount of writing, of
yeah,
brochures and letters and everything to create the
yeah.
atmosphere and the mood and the publicity. Anyway, then when that was over, although I didn't sell it till 2016, meanwhile, I was living a very nice life. I had a villa in Acapulco. I was traveling around the world. I was having a good time and always writing. I go back to writing. It's crucial to me. I always said that life would be what was. I have some wonderful quotes about writing. I've Jorge Luis Borges, whom we all knew and loved, said, "I've always imagined that paradise will be a kind of library." And
Ah,
I feel
nice.
the same way. As long as I have a book in my hand, and when I traveled so much, I used to say I would have 10 or 12 books in my suitcase, which was not real smart. So, but then they invented the Kindle, and I
Oh,
have
yeah.
1,500 books on my Kindle.
Oh, wow.
So
That's more than me.
I have a library with me all the time. So I'm never without a book. I am never
Oh,
ever without a book,
okay.
and I love it. Um, so I still love writing, and I write every day. And when I have work to do, I have a rule when I'm really, especially if I'm heading for a deadline, I'll get up in the morning and not go and have breakfast first and my 30 minutes of exercise in the pool. I have an interior pool in my house.
Ooh, I
I
want to come visit you. Your
Yeah, you're
house,
welcome,
your
girl.
house
There's
sounds
always a guest
awesome.
room, and you would love the food.
Okay.
You would love the
Uh,
food. We are
all right.
People ask to be invited to dinner because the food is so good.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll get up in the morning, just put on a robe, splash some water in my face, can come right in and work for an hour
Okay.
before I start the day. Not
Yeah.
open email, not anything. Just come in and work, because
Yeah.
every night I make a list of the 6 or 7 things I want to do today, and
Yeah.
I try to tackle them first thing in the morning. I mean, that's my schedule. Every
Oh, wow.
every every line is a day,
Ah,
you
you're
know,
busy.
and and I
Okay.
and I try to keep up with it. It's good. It's good. Listen,
Yeah.
I have a reason to get up. I have a goal. I have a purpose. You know, that's very important. Whether you're a writer or a reader or an artist, or you want to compose or build or plant or cook, you got to have a purpose. You have to have a reason, and then you wake up with a smile.
Yeah.
I
That's
never
true.
wake up depressed. I wake up thinking of, wow, I've got this to do today, and another opportunity to see, hear, taste, touch, smell, speak, love, embrace.
Yeah.
You know, it's
That's
very
nice.
important to me.
So, Jim, you're like from your career in copywriting and being in New York. I'm assuming you're very well connected in the publishing and the writing world, right? So the question is, how did you publish your books?
Well,
Did you
okay,
go
this
self-publishing,
the
publisher?
the
What
bottom
was it?
two, the bottom two were what I
Yeah,
call vanity press, not big traditional publishers, because the problem back then and now is that it doesn't matter who you are. And I don't, at age 89, and I'm not in a corner office in New York, I don't have those personal contacts in the publishing industry. I'm a successful nobody. And
okay. No,
unless you
you're not.
have
You're
an
nobody.
important
Yeah,
agent,
yeah.
you are not going to be in touch with the traditional publishers. The top two were strictly self-published,
Okay.
and which isn't bad now. Self-publishing now has a few advantages. That
Yeah,
one, you get a bigger commission on sales, and two, it's up to you to get out there, which is always the pain in the neck, is to get up and to do all the marketing, to do all the
yeah,
social media and all the advertising, and give the speeches and the book signings and all of that stuff.
yeah,
It's very
yeah.
important.
So, did
So
you hire a team to
um,
help you with the
I, you know, I,
self-publishing?
I, I tell new writers, I say, don't worry about trying to get a traditional publisher unless your uncle owns Harper Collins, because chances are you're not going to unless you just happen to have the ability to write that flawless piece of literature that somebody reads. But basically, you have to have somebody say, here, come look at it. I would love to have an agent because I think both of my novels are terrific full length features or TV series, and I
Mm.
wrote them that way. I mean, they're really very good adaptable stories. I know that.
Hmm.
I'm very commercial in my mind, maybe because of all my advertising years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So,
don't write just to amuse myself. I try to think what's going to sell. What do people want to read? You know.
oh wow. So like I'm looking at the covers and they're actually nice covers. So
Thank you.
did you hire a team? Do you have a specific team that you work with to self-publish? What is your self-publishing process like?
Well, when you write a book, yes, you're going to have to find somebody to help you with covers, and there are millions of people. You could either go on Fiverr, 5RR, and find a freelancer to do a cover for no money at all. I went to a studio called
Mm.
Cutting Edge in Holland,
In
and
Holland?
the head of the studio is an author himself, and they
Okay.
gave me four samples on each of the first two books, and I told them what I had in mind for the first book. They came up with their own, which I loved, The People Walking on a Beach, because it's
Okay.
called Dear Old Friends, and it's a younger couple and an older couple and a young man. And then the second one, I said, I just want to say, embrace your age.
Yeah.
Embrace your age. And then the subtitle says, you can be better than ever.
Yeah.
And they took my thought and did that. And I like the simplicity of it. It's nice and clear. And the bottom two, the one here is the role of a lifetime. It's about a
Mm.
woman who reinvents herself and becomes on stage. It's pure fiction. It's Broadway, Hollywood, international travel, romance, sex, everything. It's fiction.
Yeah.
And so I've got that picture of the back view of somebody standing in front of an audience, so it's theater. And this one, which says Claire, wife, mother, mistress, murder, is a painting of my younger daughter done by a
Yeah.
friend of hers in college. And I
Ah,
showed her the
nice.
book, and she said, "Well, I've never murdered anyone."
Ah, oh, wow.
But
Okay, so let's see. So since you self-published, there's a lot of marketing push on your end. How are
yeah,
you marketing these books?
I've not been as good at it as I should be,
Okay.
and I recommend to people that if you, unless you really don't have 10 pesos in your pocket, hire somebody to handle your social media for you. I hated it. I didn't want to do it. Now I'm
Okay.
getting better about it. Now I'm doing LinkedIn and Alignable and now and then Facebook and some of those things. But you really have to do these days in this world.
Yeah.
It is a social media world. So you really have to have somebody out there where you're putting in a word now and then about yourself. I mean, I was in a meeting. I did a 2-day seminar with Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Mm. Yeah.
That, and along with all the variations of chicken soup for the podcaster, chicken soup for the nurse, chicken soup,
Yeah.
right? They sold 600 million copies.
Yeah.
I mean, and they did it with putting Jack into social media, with him
Yeah.
talking to everybody, and he's a darling man. I mean, he's very, very appealing. So I'm doing a lot of public speaking now, and I'm
Okay.
doing things like I get to meet with beautiful Natasha and get to talk about
Thank
reading
you.
and writing, which I love to do.
Yeah.
Will
Yeah.
that sell
Yeah.
books? I don't know. It will make my name better known,
Yeah.
and maybe somebody will hear embrace your age. That sounds like a good thing when I'm concerned about being 60 years old and starting to feel
Yeah.
old. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I
So
mean it's very inspiring. Like at my age, 48, sometimes I think like the ship has already sailed, and then that
wrong.
I'm too old for success, and like you have all these thoughts, because you have the idea that success is only in your 20s and 30s, and if you don't make it, then you're you're done.
No,
Uh,
Natasha, because it's I'm a great fan of, and I belong to an organization called Modern Elder Academy, and it's
okay.
wonderful. And I go to their workshops because the workshops are brilliant, and they deal helping people through the messy middle, which are ages 35 to 75.
Yeah.
And they say that with age comes something called wisdom.
Yeah.
I've laughed
Yeah.
about it, thinking, even though I don't want to be in the advertising world now because it's very different. It's all digital and explosive and graphics and things. Where before I thought it was based on ideas and beautiful visuals and some intelligent thinking behind
Yeah.
advertising. But I thought in my 60s, I realized, gee, I would have been a much better creative director than I was in my 30s and 40s.
Mm,
Because in my
true.
60s, I had more wisdom about you and about everybody else and
Yeah.
about what sells and what is correct and what moves people, what emotionally matters. I
Yeah.
mean, I think with age, there are many, many advantages with age when you're a creative person. No, I
Yeah.
mean, because I think you can be realistic. By the way, I teach writing, and when I'm teaching writers, I say, I'm going to give you a very important lesson. Whatever you write, whether even an email, but especially if you're writing fiction or nonfiction, you read something, you're thinking there, wow, hot stuff. Read it out loud.
Yeah.
Don't read it to yourself. Reading it to yourself, your eye will go over Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, but your brain will hear it and say, what are you, nuts? Or that's illiterate, or that's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't flow. So you read it out loud and you hear it. Sometimes when I'm reading a wonderful book, I will read the book out loud just because I want to hear the language that the author is using. Or if it's in an accent, I'll read it with a slight accent
Yeah.
to get in the feeling of it.
Huh. So, what is your day to day like as an 80-year-old author?
As an 89-year-old author,
89, yeah.
I'm always up by 7:30. Then
Okay.
if I'm unless I'm in one of my early, I have to write first thing in the morning for an hour, which is a very good habit. I wish I did it every day. Normally, I get up in the morning, I turn around and make my bed,
Mm-hmm.
even though I have a full-time live-in nanny.
Yeah.
I hired her 24 years ago, and she's still with me, taking
Yeah.
care of me. I make my bed, I go out, I have my breakfast, which is all fruit, nothing else,
Ah.
all fruit. Go down to my pool, 30 minutes of serious exercise, heavy breathing exercise in the pool, come up, shower, shave, get dressed for the day. Then I start work. And I might work until 7:30 or 8:30 at night if I have that much to do. Otherwise, I'll try to get smart. And I'll have my one other meal around 4 o'clock. I only have two meals a day.
Ah, you skip lunch?
Yeah,
Ah.
don't need it. I don't
Okay.
need that. I don't need to eat that much. And I have a big dinner at 4 o'clock. And it's a very healthy dinner. And I weigh 10 pounds less than I weighed at the end of basic training in the Army. Of course, I'm 3.5 inches shorter. I've shrunk to 6 feet now. I'm
Mm.
only 6 feet tall now, but I only weigh 162. So I keep myself because I know it's healthier. My doctor
Yeah.
says there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
He said, besides
Yeah.
the fact that you're an irritating, you know what?
Oh wow. So what is the secret to your longevity?
Okay. Uh, okay, I'm going to tell you a wonderful story. My father died when I was very young. He was the district attorney of Miami, and I was 14 going on 11, and so I had a brilliant mother who raised me. And when I was about 20, she said, every morning of your life, you're going to have to confront your biggest critic, the toughest enemy in your life. It's that person in your bathroom mirror. And you can either grimace and groan and go, good God, another day, or smile bravely and cheerfully and say, good God, another day. And she said, go out and grab it. And I got to tell you, I do not wake up depressed. I wake up with that goal, with that purpose, because I know what I'm working on all the time.
Mm.
Besides the books, I'm working on another book. I finished an original TV series. I have
Oh
a
wow.
screenplay. I've got enough to go. That's why I say I have a 10-year plan. I can't possibly. Oh, a great story for you. George Burns, a wonderful comedian, on his 95th birthday, a reporter asked him, Mr. Burns, do you ever worry about dying? He said, I can't die now. I'm booked. And I'm the same way. I'm booked. And
Yeah.
so what's the secret? The secret is to have a goal and a purpose, a reason to wake up, and to wake up not thinking about, oh, this is wrong and that's wrong. Think about what's right. Have gratitude for the fact that you've been given the gift of another day, and get out and do it. And you'll feel so much better. When I'm having a good writing day, I'm just full of energy. I could dance. I feel so good, you know.
Yeah. What about daily habits, like daily healthy habits that you would
Okay, well,
recommend?
you're hearing it from me. I'm having two
Exercise.
meals, two very
Yeah.
healthy meals. We do not eat bread in this house except for dinner parties. We don't have potatoes.
Mm.
We have pureed cauliflower. I have wonderful fish, or I have beef once a week, a really good piece of beef. But we have fish or chicken or pork. And yesterday I had for dinner, and it was fabulous. I told my nanny this morning how incredible it was. We had stuffed poblanos, and she normally would stuff them and have some chicken and things. She said it's pure vegetarian, and it was a fantastic dinner. I mean, I would serve it cheerfully to at any dinner party. It was so good.
Hmm.
And then, so I think you eat well, shoot for 8 hours of sleep. If you settle for 7, that's fine. That's good enough. You'll be healthy enough. I'm. Do you know what the blue zones are? Have you ever heard of that? The
Yes.
blue
Yeah.
zones.
From
Yeah. Well,
Dan.
I've studied
Yeah.
that. I did a workshop with Dan Butner, who wrote that,
Yeah. With Dan.
and
Yeah. I
I've
saw
taught it.
the Netflix documentary.
I've
Yeah.
taught blue zones too. So
Ah. Okay.
so you eat well, you get your sleep, you must exercise. It really is important. Whether you just take a walk, not all people have a pool in their house. I do. It's something I've had for 40 years. I've
Mm.
decided if I'm going to live in New York, a pool outside is pretty, but you can only use them about 2 months a year. And
That's
people
true.
never
Yeah.
use them. They just look at them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
stupid. I use my pool every day. The only
Okay.
day I don't is Sunday morning. I get up, especially early, and shower and get dressed, have my all fruit breakfast, and go to church. And
Mm.
I go to church and I rehearse and I sing in the choir, and
Oh
I'm an
wow.
elder in the church. And that's another thing, folks. It doesn't hurt to have faith. I have a rabbi friend who calls me a collapsed Catholic because I'm an elder in a Presbyterian church. I'm a directing
Mm.
elder of the church. And statistics show if you go to a house of worship 4 times a month, you live 4 to 8 years longer.
Oh wow.
Hey, interesting statistic, right? And
Yeah.
it's true.
Definitely.
And the rest of statistics show that the more connections you have in life, and I'm not talking about business connections, the more friends and acquaintances you have, the longer you live. It's
Yeah.
very, very important. Living alone and embracing loneliness is wrong and very, very unhealthy. And
Mm.
I am alone all day long, most of the time working. But then once or twice a week, one person will come over and have my 4 o'clock dinner with me. And now and then we'll have a dinner party. And then I go to church every Sunday. So I'm around people all the time. I'm going to the local theater tonight. We have a playhouse down the road. I was
Oh
in our
nice.
town last year. I took a role.
Ah, good for you. And what about your wife?
I have been widowed twice. I'm
Oh,
a
well,
widower
sorry to hear
twice.
it.
And
Yeah.
guess what? And the last time was we had 3.5 years of dementia
Mm,
first to deal with. Boy, does that take you into who you are. You 24/7, you're taking care of somebody you love, watching them slip away cell by cell. It's very, very, very tough. But it's been 3 years and I'm okay. I'm all
good
right.
for you.
My children, my daughters are still wonderful and they both still love me. They laughingly say, a nice, conscientious, sweet father of 89 would just go to bed and not wake up and leave his children some money. But no, not you. You'll live forever just as fine as. I said, yes. Which is what they want.
Yeah. Well, with that amount of lifestyle you have, you're gonna outlive us all.
I, hey, I have no intention of waking up on the wrong side of the grass anytime soon. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, do you think the army had to do something with that discipline that you have?
Uh, no, I think I was born with it. And raised with it. My my sweet dear mother said, "Oh, I almost forgot. I am found and embraced a quote from of all people Noel Coward, that British wit and wag." From years ago, and I still love it. And I teach it when I'm mentoring younger groups. I do a lot of speaking to high schools and colleges. Listen to this, Natasha, you'll love it. Work is more fun than fun.
Mm,
And it is. You know, friends who know me say, "Hey, Jim, Flaherty, we know you. You could float around a pool all day with a margarita in your hand." And I said, "You know that I could only do that for about 15 minutes." And then I'd say, "Okay, that's enough of that.
yeah,
Let's get up. Let's do something. Let's
yeah,
produce something." I
yeah.
mean, I created a business I knew nothing about. I had to work 70 hours a week for 10 years to make that
Oh,
happen.
wow.
I did it and it was fine. I loved doing it. You know,
Hmm.
hey, it's better
Yeah.
than watching television all day.
Which, yeah. So, do you drink alcohol?
No, I decided what I on my 80th birthday, I thought, okay, you've lived till 80, which I didn't expect to be that. None of the Flahertys had been long livers. And here I was at 80, perfectly healthy. And I thought, all right, what are you going to do for your 80th birthday? I thought, why don't we just stop drinking totally? So
Mm,
I stopped totally from one day to the next. I thought, I don't really need to drink. So I now love flavored seltzers. And I
yeah.
probably spend more on those than I did on vodka. And I stopped smoking 62 years ago when my younger daughter was born.
Yeah.
I remember having a conversation with myself. It was the year before it caused cancer. Too. I said, this is
Ah.
this is stupid, Jim. Why do you do this? You know it's got to be bad for you. You don't know you don't want your baby girls to smoke. And I put it out and I never smoked again. From
Oh,
two
wow.
pack a day to nothing. I'm one of those. I can make a decision, and once I've told myself that's what you're going to do, that's what you do.
Yeah.
There's no discussing it. You're not going to fall back and try it again. I've never, I laugh in the world that we live in now, not the world I grew up in. I say, I'm the only old white man who's never smoked a joint, and I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to. I don't
Yeah.
need to. I am
Yeah.
having more fun than any old white man
Yeah.
you know.
That's true. That's true.
you know.
Wow. So you mentioned you have a 10-year plan. What is your 10-year plan?
What is my what,
You
darling?
mentioned your 10-year plan.
Yeah, okay. Well, my 10-year plan is based on the fact that the things I'm working on are not just what I'm going to do today, which is have fun with Natasha and discuss reading and writing, the two things I love most. I want to find an agent. I want my original TV series to be produced. That's going
Mm,
to take some time. And that series could run for 10 years. I mean, I know
yeah.
how to do it. I want to have a film. Love to see a feature film. I've I've hired a PR firm that I'm starting to work with this coming month uh, with my new book and public speaking. I'm going to be doing more and more public speaking now. I'm available if somebody wants to pay me to do it. I don't do it for nothing. To go out on the stage and wake people up and talk to them.
Yeah.
I'm not a boring speaker. Um, so all of those things take time. They're nothing. Nothing is, well, this will keep me busy for the next week. No, 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 no. I only have 100 pages of my new novel written. It'll
Mm.
probably be a 400-page book. And to write fiction, when you're writing fiction, you can't be doing all the other stuff. When you're writing fiction, you wear their clothes, you walk in their shoes, you have dinner with them, you talk in their language, you laugh about having sex with them, you go
Yeah.
through all of that. I mean, they become your life. Their emotions
Yeah.
become your emotion if you're really writing fiction,
Yeah.
to live in
Yeah.
it. I have to do it that way.
Oh.
Nonfiction is just a chat between me and you. All
Yeah.
my books almost sound like I wrote them out of my diary. You know,
Hmm. So, have you ever thought of writing your own memoir?
what ended up is that the two nonfiction books are very memoirish
Mm.
because I'm talking. Remember, I'm using my age not only as a hook, but as a reason for saying you can live longer and you can
Mm.
live productively and you can
Yeah.
really like it. You can have a good time doing it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
really having I'm having a better time now, I think, than in my 60s. And I was on top of the world in the 60s. I had a villa in Acapulco and I was traveling around the world. I'm really loving what my life is. And that's why I'm saying in the new book, Loving Longevity, make your next 10 or 20 years your best
Yeah.
because they can. It's
Yeah.
up to you. Nobody can say, well, you're old, so you can't do anything. Hell with that.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that.
That's true. Wow. So, where can people find your books, Jim?
What?
Where can people find your books?
Oh,
Using the
fine. Thank
microphone.
you.
Yeah.
They can go to my website, which is my name. It's James with the initial B for
Mm-hmm.
boy,
Yeah.
James B. Flaherty,
Okay.
FLAHERTY.com. And that is my website, and that will introduce you to all four of my books and my point of view and my philosophy. I'm going to be having a new website soon, also that says Loving Longevity with Jim, which is going to be about speaking, public
Mm.
speaking, because
Okay.
I'm doing more and more of that. And life is good. I find everything about reading and writing is wonderful. I have some wonderful quotes for you. The man who doesn't read good books has no advantage of the man who can't read them. Mark
Yeah.
Twain.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
know that code. Yeah.
wonderful. I love one. I've been reading. Oh, I'm going to a workshop October 12th in Santa Fe for Modern Elder Academy, and the guest host is Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote
Oh wow.
Eat, Pray,
I
Love.
love
I've
her.
loved her for years, and she has a nonfiction book. All you writers out there,
Big Magic.
which is
I
I
love it.
I've read it. I've read it twice, and I'm reading it right now for the third time because
It's amazing.
I'm gonna have 5 whole days with Liz.
Ah,
I
lucky
can't.
you.
I can't wait. I've
Oh
read
my
all
god.
of her books. I've been in love with her for years.
She's amazing. Yeah, she is amazing. Are you on Substack? She also has a Substack and she's active on Substack where like there's a lot of writers on Substack. It's you can
Right.
also just look at her stuff. Well, this been wonderful, Jim. So any advice to like let's say your top advice to aspiring authors?
Oh, I I guess I guess my real advice is to accept every day of your life as a gift. And if you want to do some good writing habits, try my good habit of, for a while, get up in the morning and splash some water in your face and go in and write. Don't open email, but go in and write something work for even just 30 minutes, if not an hour, and write a blog.
Yeah.
Start writing a blog about your life if you don't have anything else to write, or make up a story.
Yeah.
Make a short story. Say, I walked into the principal's office and my mother was sitting there crying. Then where do you go from there, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
wow. Wow.
writing
So
writing is wonderful.
So this been amazing, Jim, and very inspiring. And I'm so inspired by your healthy lifestyle. I mean, I try to work out, but the eating is still not there. I mean, 2 meals a day. Uh, Maybe I should do that and no bread.
Where are you
But
located, Natasha? Where are you?
outside of DC in Rockville, Maryland.
Okay, well, you're not that far. Why don't you come over and visit? I'm in that very pretty part of America where New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts all bump
Yeah.
into each other, the
Okay.
foothills.
Yeah. Well, if you, I'll take you up on that. I'll be there.
You would be more than welcome.
Uh,
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Jim. I really enjoyed our chat, and we'll definitely stay in touch. And for anyone who's listening or watching, thank you for joining us for another episode of Read and Write with Natasha. And until we meet again.